So, you're thinking about farming Australian Redclaw Crayfish here in the Philippines? Well, hold on a second, because the government just dropped a brand new rulebook. Today, we are going to break down exactly what these new regulations mean for you, especially if you're an aspiring backyard or small-scale farmer. Let's get right into it. All right, here's our game plan. We're going to start with the big opportunity everyone's excited about. Then, we'll get real about the serious risks that made these rules necessary in the first place. We'll dive deep into the specific rulebook for your farm, walk through the official certification process, and cover the penalties you absolutely cannot afford to ignore. And finally, we'll put it all together to help you answer the big question, is this really for you?
First up, why is everybody talking about this crayfish? What's all the excitement about? Let's take a look at the potential that has not just farmers, but the government itself paying very close attention.
And look, this isn't just some popular idea floating around. This is an officially recognized opportunity. The Bureau of Fisheries and Aquatic Resources, that's BFAR, sees this as a major way to boost our aquaculture sector, create new jobs, and put a new food source on the table. So yeah, it's got the government's official stamp of approval.
Okay, but before we all get carried away with the potential profits, we have to talk about responsibility. It is absolutely crucial to understand why these super strict regulations were created. This isn't just red tape for the sake of it.
And here is the single biggest reason. The Australian Redclaw Crayfish is officially classified as a highly invasive species. You know what that means? If even a few of these escape from a farm and get into our local rivers and lakes, it could be a complete ecological disaster. We're talking wiping out our native species and changing our ecosystems forever. That's the #1 fear.
This really lays out everything the government is trying to prevent. The whole set of rules is basically a defense plan against these core risks, from escaped crayfish taking over and outcompeting our local shrimp to spreading new diseases and all the damage that could be caused by illegal off-the-books farms.
Okay, now for the part I know you've been waiting for. What are the specific, on-the-ground rules from the official circular that you, as a small-scale farmer, absolutely have to follow? Let's open up your new rulebook.
So if you're just setting up a few tanks in your backyard, what are the non-negotiables? What are the conditions you just can't get around? Let's break down the most critical ones.
Think of this checklist from Section 4 as your Bible. Every single rule here is about managing risk. First, you have to buy your baby crayfish, your craylings from a certified source, no exceptions. This is for traceability and disease prevention. Next, polyculture. That's mixing them with other species like shrimp in the same tank is a huge no-no. These crayfish are aggressive and will dominate. For backyard setups, it has to be in controlled tanks, like concrete or fiberglass. No earthen ponds where they can just burrow out and escape. And this is a big one. If you're just a hobbyist, you cannot sell them. This is to stop an unregulated black market from popping up.
Now, to run this as a legitimate business, you can't just set up some tanks and start posting on Facebook. You need to be official. You need to be certified. So let's walk through the exact steps to get your farm on the government's approved list.
This process, taken straight from the circular's Annex C1, is your path to going legit. It all starts when you submit a letter of intent. Your application then works its way through the local and regional offices before the most important step, the physical site inspection. Yep, they're going to come out and look at your setup. If you pass, you get a certification that's good for 3 years, but don't get too comfortable. They'll be back every single year to make sure you're still playing by the rules.
Okay, everybody, listen up. This is the section you absolutely cannot afford to skim over. The government is not playing around with these rules, and the consequences for breaking them, well, they're severe.
Let's be crystal clear about this. There is no gray area on these points. What are the absolute 100% don'ts under these new guidelines? Section 12 lays it all out, and you probably see a theme here, right? It's all about containment. You cannot farm them in any kind of open water. No fish cages, no natural ponds. You absolutely cannot release them into rivers. And supplying from a farm that isn't certified? Illegal. Importing them without the proper clearance? That's a huge violation.
And the penalties are serious. They really scale up. For something like illegal importation, the fines can go as high as 6 million pesos.
It gets worse. If you're caught illegally stocking them in our local waters, you could be facing up to 8 years of prison time. And for the most serious offense, actually causing an invasive outbreak that damages our environment and native wildlife, the penalty can be up to 12 years behind bars. They are not messing around. So, after hearing about the huge opportunities, the very strict rules, and those incredibly severe penalties, it's time to bring it all home. Let's weigh everything so you can decide, is this venture actually the right fit for you?
And this really illustrates the choice you have to make. On one hand, you have a very real economic opportunity, a chance at a new livelihood, all inside a structured, regulated industry. But on the other hand, you have the immense responsibility of managing a high-risk invasive species, the absolute necessity of strict compliance, and the threat of life-altering penalties if you mess up.
Ultimately, the fate of this entire industry really rests on the shoulders of individual farmers, on people just like you. So will this become a cautionary tale of a risky import that's spiraled out of control, or will responsible, compliant farmers turn it into a sustainable and profitable new food staple for the Philippines? The rulebook is written, the choice. Now, that lies with you.